I'm going to read selections from it. 1. This grip stimulates what it prevents. Pain allows nothing but itself, a holding I can't touch, because in it I'm no longer myself. You deny flesh meets. This nothing allows nothing but itself. 3. A man of importance, who is neither important nor you, said that he spoke another untranslatable language than our shared one, and so we could not speak. Now he makes images of walls that speak of themselves and of knowing nothing. I have told him he will fall into caves again. This is after that, a song that is the beginning of speaking, which is not of itself, but continues because I push it with my mouth towards that not, nor desire of the not, but anything. The mouth I hold in my hand will enter where the open mouth of my breath could not, and leave again. 4. I'm speaking of the jagged black edge that turns and returns, at times with an inside edge and a wrong direction, as if I could lift the word from the page, as if I could hold its own senses that change at the touch of my mouth. This is a struggle of the will to will. 2 is one word. I mean, just because, time, doesn't mean that change is in one direction, that is, to more change, in the sense that I've been you already. The body holds itself in a direction, which is not the direction by which the face is seen, nor how you feel about it. This making is of making. 7. Not that the mind no longer knows how to move the body, but that it can know nothing but the nothing inside the body. The heart is avenged on the reason that turned on the body, and against the grip that could not know. 9. Ask out, ask in, not what for, the hardware leading the hardware dance. Appear in place of what's meant is meant. The cave is dug to trace the tree. The song is tongue, the judge is old. The song is tongue and breaks the chandelier, not why. 12. The song is dumb, the painting hung in other rooms, so hounds appear geraniums of questions only say the answers. What is to be taken down if breakers love the promenade whose reason there they are, but breast and 2 refusals to be won? Lookout viewpoints rotate in the foe's eye. Answers answer any questions and forget, tongue torn from turning the title behind the canvas to a return address with love. Spectators clench their hearts for him to win for them who can't but pay. And now the TV shouts commercial breaks at bookshelves closed to the skin that dreams it slaps love time to reason. Americans subtract the number chosen first, if equal means same in this language that also says shape and correct, and arguments suspect where viewpoints have reached to a crossing they pass to abandon. Hamburger, 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 hot dog. Grey morning finds it harder to find the body than night's mind's eyes, hard body. Not the thing deserves life, but if not the thing, then trying is not nothing. Nothing means anything, but anything can be something, so get shown the door. You showed me pictures, you showed me the subject of each, you showed me laughs, so I've a new ditty that you can join in. As usual, guys, the only words are matter, matter. Leave your caress on the door. It allows the garden as the garden allows the room. No wrong door, then how do they get in? They squeeze through the little holes the mind cannot prevent. No wrong door, then how do they get out? Is it not the heart on the homemade swing that ignores the wall with a shout of thief, so the thief is born as one becomes two when the swing breaks, and the I and why and want and know? The heart is breath and not a picture. Send care packages, but we hate baby food. Care rage happens bodies, leaning ground mind, we bang rave, they ha 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 boo hoo. I'm standing there and it disappears because it's true, because it's held out.
Irresponsibility in the face of serious demands that haven't been thought through carefully.
Don't hold me to the bubble of my own ideas about things. Not that it bursts, but it comes and goes like the wind, which to you looks like the same thing. But to me, a hurricane is a direction that goes to the heart of the matter, and that's where I end up, always. But I never said Pyongyang, because if you do, you can. And that's hardly what you expected after all.
Hey, he ice skated to hell. Didn't the ice melt? But somehow he still got there.
Hey, he took a short-running leap into the molasses pit. Didn't he bounce? Stupid. Stupid. Nobody bounces in molasses.
Hey, he's the wrong number. But a wrong number always, always, hits back. So look who's crying.
Hey, crying makes you fat. I didn't know that. Crying makes you fat.
Hey, he threw a curveball into the dairy factory. How did he get the dairy factory to keep sending him those massive orders of free milk?
White face, pale face. How do you rate that kind of expression?
Don't ask.
Hey.
He was on wheels at the same time he was on doped up white bread and butter. Don't ask what made him such a slippery guy. Now you know.
Now you know.
Let's hear it for the nice but naughty nonies. Life in the slow lane, then. Life in the slow lane to Nina. 4 out of 5 Americans are mentally retarded. Shocking, perhaps, but true. But I'm too busy to become something like a concerned citizen. This is a boring fact, not of life, but of death. Death on the installment plan. So whatever, nothing unusual, nothing useful. Not like, let us say, the lost poems of Mr. Boris Pasternak, written by yours truly. No, just kidding. I want to break some glasses, but it's not even a big wedding. Thank you. What's the horn? This poem will be written in triplicate in memory of that great lamented educator and martyr, Miss Jean Harris, an unwittingly, an unwitting victim of a petty and vindictive and ultimately juvenile American medical establishment. Now paying the less than ultimate price for its follies. Still I can recall how she nearly makes the day begin. I was serenely independent, content before we met, rather like a habit one can always forget. And yet, I've grown accustomed to her face. But I assume nothing, caramba, after all, 4 out of 5 Americans. Begotten, not made. Pedantics, art of conversation, glides, skitter scat, mumbled though very pat. It wants to verge on furniture and boring snacks. And all the while, it's love they lack. Maybe you'd give it, but watch your back. Anyway, I say, who wants to pose for a photograph so rude? Like for no good reason, i.e. vanity unfair, the naked truth, far better totally nude. But nowadays, it's scarcely better. Life in little Bulgaria, formerly my city's Lower East Side, has even less use for Emily Post, thrives on interruptions from your host. Yes to rugs, no to drugs. That's if you're sick of pain, inane frippery, holier than thou. Not talking, not joking, not smoking in the tobacco-free world of cocaine. Godspeed, I do proclaim, the devil's a pain. Last moment, two young poets, plainly speaking. If there are any in the audience tonight, beware. You don't have to do as I've done. The poet gets a pen and a notebook, forget Communist Party membership of the NEA, and suddenly he's armed and dangerous. The fame, the glory, the survival bid, the staying power, it's either luck, wheeling and dealing, or actual talent. God-given or what have you. I mean, every faith, even faith is luck. That is, if you're lucky, you have it. If you don't, you're stupid, you're just plain stubborn. A bad dealer has to suck cock non-stop or talk celibate. Otherwise, you take whatever's there. Read, write, and bump your head in the dark. The choice, of course, is yours. But do not mistake this for cynicism. Otherwise, you'll be a pedantic motherfucker forever. And who wants anything to do with an annoying ne'er-do-well? Not even your nicest ex-girlfriend can take it. And if you're a junkie, you'll be even worse. My advice is to hang tough, walk the straight and narrow, though others will judge you severely. Tell them that you hate William Carlos Williams, but you love your doctor. That's if you can't figure out what Alice Notley is talking about. That's okay, Alice is great, but she's nuts, really. Above all, have nothing to do with New York school or Hawaiian circles or surrealist rehash, unless you're lonely. We'll understand. Shit. Some of us will even forgive, but I have no idea who that might be, truly. It's all Gertrude Stein's fault. And finally, resist name-dropping like this, unless it's irresistible, like, say, temptation. But that's another story. And anyway, it's you I care about. Don't, above all, do as I have done. That is, try to impress your teachers with sass. That gets them to upset to even vote Democrat next fall.
And now, the author of the soon-to-be-published book of cartoons, Don't Make Trouble, forthcoming from Bumana Press, Tuli Kupferberg.
No rehearsal band. This is called Beloved Enemy. Who will you kill when there's no commies left to kill? Who will you hate when Marx has met his fate? Who will you beat? Will you beat your meat? Don't worry, be happy. We need an enemy. We need an enemy. We need an enemy. Who will you jail when the junkies all ain't fail? Who will you jail when we all turn semi-queer? Who will you tease when the blind man sees? Don't worry, be merry. We need an enemy. We need an enemy. Who will you kill when there's no bad life left to kill? Who will you shove when pushes come to love? Who will you fight when might has lost its right? Don't worry, be happy. We need an enemy. Who will you abuse while you're marrying up the Jews? Who will you you'll get in. But when the kids grow up a bit, don't worry, eat curry. What about amendments? And what will you do when the revolution comes? What will you do when the job is done? What will you see when the protest's gone? Don't worry, be silent. I'm going to take 30 seconds for a political statement. It's in the line of the song. We do have an enemy now, the narco-trafficantes. You know, cocaine kills 2,000 people a year. Nicotine kills almost 400,000. So I expect the president of Philip Morris, the inventor of the Bill of Rights, to be sort of strung up. Bennett said he's for the death penalty for drug kingpins. One other thought. You know the American soldiers killed in Panama? They were killed by good American guns, good American bullets, and by soldiers trained by good American soldiers. Wow.
That was Tuli Kupferberg. Next to Ray is the author of Judaism, J-U-D-Y-I-S-M, Jim Brody. He took the gun out of his pocket and he held it out to me. I looked down at him. He said, "This is the only language they understand." What could I say? Right.
Yes. The duck is phenomenally rare bird. And its quacks can be heard very distinctly as you ride off into the sunset. My uncle was a cowboy, prone in his mind riding off into the sunset. But it has been my experience that people who work with or around animals are not particularly good at having them as pets. Now, it may not be true, but it has been my observation. And Bridgewater, he fit into this category except for the duck. The duck would follow him almost everywhere. And my uncle encouraged, condoned this habit, although he didn't actually train the duck. Now, we've all heard stories of animals who've accomplished amazing feats, animals that have saved lives, dogs that have traveled vast distances to reunite themselves with their loved ones, horses that count, chickens that dance, and the famous pig with a peg leg. Well, my uncle claimed that his duck was a watch duck. Now, what this meant was that the duck would raise quite a ruckus, quacking, flailing his wings if any villains or varmints were to approach my uncle. Now, my uncle did not have much to fear, for he was a likable man. However, in his youth, he had been quite a snooker player, and he was of the opinion that there were certain people who felt a jealousy for him. Now, look, we all live with jealousy and rivalry, that's true. But could it have been a possibility that after God, 40 years better since my uncle had played cool, that he still had what he considered to be enemies? Well, he believed so. And because of this belief, and his stubborn insistence on the infallibility of his duck as it watched her. I said that the duck would follow him almost everywhere. He would walk the streets of the town, the duck at his side, smiling happily. My uncle, too. The duck enjoyed my uncle's presence, and my uncle enjoyed the duck. But one day, while walking in town, my uncle was approached by a man friend, and the duck started to raise his roof. Now, my uncle calmed the duck, but he cautioned the man to keep his distance. And the man said, "But Bridgewater, we have been friends for a long time. You were probably one of the people who was jealous of me in my snooker playing days," replied the man. "Perhaps that is true," said the man, "but you were a great snooker player, but believe me, I hold nothing against you." Well, my uncle did not believe him. And it began to happen with other people, Duck raising his hell, and not just those who had known my uncle as a snooker player, but he attributed most of it to that. It happened more and more frequently, and well, my uncle had hardly any friends left. But it didn't seem to distress him. His wife had died about a year before, and he just retreated more and more into himself. He and the duck. My uncle fell into ill health, and then the duck was invited or allowed to come into the house. And before this, no animal of any kind was allowed in the house. But the duck took to it right away. Again, constantly at my uncle's side, my uncle would sit there and talk to the duck, nodding and saying, "Yes, yes," as if they understood one another. He'd tell the duck his stories till the duck died. Now he has me. He tells me his stories. I think he misses the duck. Now, these celebratory minutes for each of us poets and dancers and music people, rights and reciprocities, baroque loophole ecstasies for such miracles as Romania 1990. But in place of the collective assurances, soon will explode the competitive market's production of house and street windshield wiping homelessness in Belgrade. Or the frozen body of an unemployed porter outside of an upscale estaminet in Lodz. When the overarching statism melts into the dancing of the Balkans,
and the villages of song and movement and story, and new worship of the old Mariola trees. The incubus impaler opens the nightmare door, always slightly ajar, in the Jewish sleepers waiting Auschwitz mycelium in the Bronx, and in Riverdale, and in Antwerp. Ritual of the right, ritual of the peasant party, nativist affections, ritual of the anti-Semite slumber slouching towards Bucharest to be born. Instancing one more protocols of the elders of Zion, one more blood libel of the drinking of the Bessarabian infant blood. These speculations are not in order now. Not proper, a bit disgusting, out of place, essentially impolite and uncompassionate. In the quivering gout of 1,990 corrugations of millennial neural points of psychodermal oversensitivity in that sleeper. Bizarre instance of bizarrely surviving father religion in the town markets and crucifix lambencies of the 2,000-year-old Pauline offspring's overarching mental cities. Now is not the time. This is not the place. Later.
I'm torn between the novel, which is now 1,359 pages long, and the new monologue, which is based on the interruptions of the novel, called Monster in the Box. Footnotes to The Impossible Vacation. So I thought I'd just do a story from the monologue. And this story has to do with when my film, Swimming to Cambodia, was brought to Russia. We were invited to Russia 2 years ago, February, to play in the first American Film Festival in Russia. And it was to be played in Moscow and Leningrad. And it went very well in Moscow. And we had a literal translation. And the translator was doing very well. I have to tell you the other films that were at this festival. Rumblefish, Hoosiers, Cool Hand Luke, Children of a Lesser God, The Empire Strikes Back, Officer and a Gentleman, The Wizard of Oz, Splash, and Swimming to Cambodia. I don't know how this happened. You also have to realize that none of these were subtitled or translated, so that one Russian was speaking all the roles for each film. They would turn the sound down for Empire Strikes Back, and one Russian would be speaking all the lines. Now, with Swimming to Cambodia wasn't a great problem because it's just me, one raving, talking head speaking. In case you don't know the monologue, it's raving about playing a small role in the killing fields, playing American Ambassador's Aid. And it's a film of it, and I talk extremely fast in the film. So they were doing a wonderful job doing a literal translation in Moscow, getting it all. Renee Shafransky, who is a line producer, was off. She speaks Russian. She said, "This is fantastic." He's even getting the part where you meet the American sailor on the train to Philadelphia, and he says that he's chained to a nuclear missile, and he gets a fucking erection every time he wants to fire at the Russians. They're even getting that. All the obscenities. Getting missile, rocket, erection, Russians, and they were getting it. Except after this particular film, the translation disappeared in Moscow. We wanted to believe that it was really stolen and taken to the underground to be published, but we couldn't tell whether it was conspiracy or ineptitude, bureaucratic ineptitude. So we were off to Leningrad with no translation. We get to the first screening of Swimming to Cambodia, and we're sitting there at 6 o'clock. No translators arrived yet. The Russians begin to stamp at 6:15. They're stamping their feet on the floor. And I say to my translator, what's the problem? They said, the translator is suddenly been taken ill. I said, suddenly, we've been waiting 15 minutes. Why can't they have it at 6 o'clock? She said, we have a pinch hit translator. So basically, the translator has never seen the film before. She's going to watch Swimming to Cambodia and do simultaneous translation. Now, I'm sitting in the audience because I really want to know what's going on and how the audience is reacting. I'm very excited about this, and you have to realize that I speak very fast in this monologue. I go, in 1984, I met this incredible British documentary filmmaker, Roland John, a combination of Zorro, Rasputin, and Jesus. Body of Zorro, eyes of Rasputin, heart of Jesus. So it's going along like this, and the translator's doing nothing. There's a long pause, and she goes, I say to my translator, what did she say? Met an interesting director. Stop, excuse me, please, stop the film. People are walking out, I said, listen, I really, Misha, come down here, will you? I call my translator over, Misha, he looks like a demented version of Robin Williams in Moscow on the Hudson. He's shaking all over because he's only done translation with politicians, he's never been up on the stage before. I said, Misha, come over here, help me straighten this out, will you, please? I stand up, or at the time I was sitting down, in front of the audience, and I say, look, there's been a mistake here, I don't know where our translation has gone. I don't know what's going on here. I'm really lost. I would rather take questions from the house. I can't promise any answers, but at least I'll give you responses. So they start writing on cards and sending up questions to me. And the first question that comes up is, what do you think of Kafka, Hesse, Thomas Mann, and Faulkner? This is the first question from the house. Sound and the Fury, and that completed me on the floor. I was satisfied, fully satisfied. Thomas Mann, love it. Just reread Magic Mountain again in August. Hesse, too romantic, can't get past page 14, although I've tried it many times, or whatever it was. Now, as for Kafka, I have to say I've never paid a lot of attention to him until I came to Russia, but I must tell you I will now read him with great insight. Well, they laughed. They thought this was funny. The next question that comes up was, why are you so armored? Armored? Now, I can see someone saying that to me in 1959 because of my New England heritage, but I thought I'd gotten rid of that working in performance group in the 60s. Armor. I had never thought of myself as still having armor. At the same time, I was sitting down, but I didn't feel like I had that classic Reichian armor, so I stood up. I'd been sitting down too long, so I stood up in front of the Russians and tried to move around a little bit. I mean, I felt like a moonwalking. Wanted to moonwalk, but I thought I would just stretch out a little more and do some stand-up. And I started telling them stories about my impressions of Russia. And what I started to talk about to them was how I was busted in the Hermitage Museum. Now, when we were in Russia with this whole group of film people, it was, we'd have a bus every morning out in front that we could go on a certain tour of the city. We could go see the Pickle Pumps, we go to Red Fort, and go see the Winter Palace, this, that, and the other. But it was very difficult when you have a lot of movie stars getting them all on the bus at 10 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you have Richard Gere, Daryl Hannah, Molly Maitland, Carrie Fisher, Cecily Tyson. Now, they get on, Richard Gere, Matt Dillon is not on, Richard Gere gets on, sees Matt Dillon isn't there, he goes back to the hotel. That's the vodka, what have you. Daryl Hannah gets on, sees that Molly Maitland isn't there, Molly Maitland gets on, sees that Daryl Hannah's getting off, she gets off too, they go back together. I mean, when Renee Shabransky and I were in Nicaragua with a fact-finding commission of Americans, 36 of them, and we had to get on the bus at 10 o'clock in the morning to go somewhere, they all got on simultaneously. It was a shoot! There was no line. 10 o'clock, it was a group movement. But with this bus, it took about 2 hours to get it all filled up. And then we were off to the Hermitage, alas, about noon. And we were getting a tour of it, and we were told never to use flash cameras or any kind of cameras, although people with video cameras were holding them to the hip and videoing the entire experience 24 hours. But not to use flashes because this would deteriorate the products on the wall, this, that, and the other. So we're wandering through the Hermitage, even though we have the cameras. And there's always this kind of phalanx, depending on whose film was most popular at that time. And Richard Gere usually led. He was in the front, and the rest would fall out kind of like Canadian geese flying south. Daryl Hannah would be coming up from the rear, and Molly Maitland would be easing in. Renee Shabransky and I would be at the back of the wings like this. So we're going through the Hermitage in this great phalanx. And around the corner comes this group of of American students from Westchester who are touring around the world on a ship. A school ship that happened to stop in Odessa, and they were down looking at the Hermitage. And they round the corner and run into us, and they go, "Fuck! I don't fucking believe it! It's her! Flash, 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 flash! Flash, 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 flash! Oh, the Russian gods are everywhere! Why are Americans taking pictures of Americans? What's going on here? Stop it, stop it, stop it!" I am over in a corner because I've been recognized by two young students that had seen me on the David Letterman show. I am recognized. I'm over in the corner. Also, I'm very hot in the Hermitage. Very hot. Because it's overheated in the museum and cool, very cold outside. So I have this double layer on where I have cauterized, and underneath I have this Chinese silk underwear, which I'm mad as I'm talking to these two students. I'm trying to roll up and cool off. Nothing of it. Vaguely, I look like a Bowery bum or some guy from Maine, you know. And as I'm standing there talking, the two great Russian matrons come, sweep me up like this, and begin to carry me out of the Hermitage, screaming. I say, "Misha, Misha, come quickly, translate. Why are they busting me? Why are they throwing me out of the Hermitage?" He translates, "For imitating royalty." The Russian audience, they say, "This is true."
I want to read a poem that's a memorial to one of the people who left us last year. Betty Davis just died. What has been Betty Davis is now nothing. She is dead. Well, it must have been great to be Betty Davis. Now it is no feeling. The life of Betty Davis stopped. So now she is something that was great. Did you like Betty Davis? How do you feel about her now? She's just history already. She's not going to do something new. She hadn't done something new for a very long time. When was she great? Let's look at that part. Betty Davis at her best without her interfering, having her own feelings about what was good. Because what people think about their lives, about the part that shows. And with Betty Davis, that was about all there was. Who could trust or really care about what a person like that thinks? We can decide what we really like and throw the rest away, just like her body rotting in the ground, stinking and no one around to smell it. Probably buried in some very good clothes, barefoot because nobody sees that part. Picture yourself in a coffin, dead and smelly. Give it a little light so you can really see. Think of that weird face that Betty Davis had. Those eyes rotting under the ground. Think of her famous face this week on the cover of People magazine. Her famous dead face. Isn't it eerie? Even when she was alive, it must have been a little bit like being dead. The picture, the face in the frame of film was the Betty Davis we know. Now we can really truly look at Betty Davis. The star, not the rotting carcass in the ground. Because someday we'll be there too. We need the glamorous light of wonderful human beings like Betty Davis so we can forget that nothing matters, really and truly. Nothing at all except life. And Betty Davis doesn't have it anymore. We do.
So, hell set, and you can imagine something about 3 times the size of this. It sort of looks like an urban shopping mall, maybe something put up by Portland. And several stories high. At the bottom is this big eating area. The first ring is is filled with all these egotistical artists carrying along their portfolios endlessly. Portfolios. The second ring is filled to the brim with technical directors and union crew people playing endless games of pinochle and doing an elaborate hang and focus, hang and focus, hang and focus, hang and focus. Then we get to one of the deeper rings. It's a really bad ring. HBO, Showtime, and MTV producers wandering around networking at some endless Christmas party. And right beneath that is why they're producers, presenters, sort of regional presenters, and they're standing about 6 deep. They're all chanting endlessly again. I don't know if my audience can handle this. I don't know if my audience can handle this. I don't know if my audience can handle this. It's getting hoarse. It's terrible. It's really dark. It's a wailing, a terrible place. Right below them is the Congress of the United States. They are all buck naked. Buck naked, and they're made to restage an enormous version of Let My People Come. And of course, at the center of the hellmouth is a southern senator. He's really large, a big, ugly southern senator, smoke belching out of him. He's in the tobacco shop of the mall. And he is sort of in this odd recreation of Robert Mapplethorpe's self-portrait with whip. Thank you.
Director of the Poetry Project, Ed Friedman.
After a 10-year relationship, we decided to get married this year. And the song is about that, for those of you who've been putting it off at least nearly as long.
That's why we need rabbis and judges and shotguns. Boy to boy, girl to girl, girl to boy, girl to girl. Everybody I know will faces tonight. When they want all the presents that money can buy. Savings bonds, matching silver, microwave, oven toaster. Let's get married. Let's get married. Let's start them down. I'll make you my own. I'll pay for the blood test. No, it's it. Sickness and health, unfaithfulness too. You got to clap, baby, how good you. Let's get married. Let's get married. That's why we need rabbis, judges, and shotguns. They are a creep, and life's a disaster. But I love you tomorrow, and all the days after. Let's get married. Let's get married. Let's get married. Let's get married.
Poem that I'm going to read is a song, actually, but I won't sing it, I'll just read it, and it's called Predictions. Let's tell the future. Let's see how it's been done. By numbers, by mirrors, by water, by bats made at random on paper, by salt, by dice, by needle, by mice, by dough of cakes, by sacrificial fire, by fountains, by fishes, writings in ashes, birds, herbs, smoke from the altar. A suspended rain, or the Lord of laughing, by pebbles drawn from a heap. One of these things will tell you something. Let's tell the future. Let's see how it's been done. By dreams, by the features, by letters, by dropping hot wax into water, by nails reflecting the rays of the sun, by walking in a circle, by red hot iron, by passages in books, a balanced hatchet. Let's tell the future. Let's see how it's been done. Some of these are sort of sketches and things that might turn into something in the future. This one's one of those. It's called Two Men of a City. One has big eyes. He is a spy of a sort. He walks around the city, uncovering the small jokes, like the one about the flowers for the dead man in the hallway. At the funeral, it said, for the people in the courtyard. Flowers from the dead to the living. It was a mistake on the card. He says his school of humor is far away with no classmates. He writes his book of burials, catches the world in his eyes. The other man has small eyes, but a full mouth and eloquent tongue. He catches the world in his lips, swirls it through his teeth happily, and spits it shining back. That's the end of that one. This one is, well, I'll just read it first. This one turned into a song along the way, but this one is called The Dreams. Last night in Spain, I saw a child with a bloody hand in a back street on cobblestones. He held it up to me and smiled. Last night I dreamed of a bloody sheep, hanging and defiled, hanging from the ceiling, slaughtered. I saw a big, fat, black city pigeon fluffed up, sitting roundly in the corner of the white door, looking up into the flat gray sky, looking at me. Last night, sleeping, I saw the bones of a tiny bird, hanging and dancing, living on a string, twisting and dancing, fighting for her life. I dreamed of an old man with wide eyes and a thin mouth who grabbed my hand and held it tight and told me something I couldn't hear in words. I dreamed that a man ripped out a piece of his lining to show us his clean quilted heart. I dreamed of how we all hang under your oppressive roof. This one's a short one and it's called Judgment. Accuse, defend, tell any handy jury the details of the crimes, the names and dates and places, the angles of the sun, the day within the week, the corner of the room. Strip away the feeling, revealing only fact, validity, my tactic, my strategy and plan. Hope that all assembled faces crack the code and free the woman. I spent my childhood in New York City, so I'm sure that many of you will, many of you, we are in New York City, so I'm sure we'll find some way of communicating with this one. This one, actually, it's New Year's Day, and sometimes when you're cleaning out your closets, you old papers, and this is a poem that I wrote in 1972 at the age of 13, which I thought I would come down and share with you. It's called The Baddest Girl in the World. I'm the baddest girl in the world. I'm as bad as Superfly, and I don't need coke to get me high. I can beat you, Jack, and you better get back when the Vegas come around. So kick your ass and make it last. I got evil eye, and you sure gotta try to put me on the ground. I don't play, hey, you know what I say when I say it's okay. I can stare you down, make you crawl on the ground. I'm action, no talk. When I say to you walk, I'm not the kind you can knock. I use only my hands, no bottles for me. But I got plans, you won't go home free. When I don't smile, you know you're in trouble. 'Cause I can get wild, I ain't got no double. I can make you cry, I can make you want to die. No one beat me yet, and they ain't gonna get the chance. I can take mine and the little folks at the same time. I'm the baddest girl in the world.
That was cute.
I look for her under every awning. By accident, I spill wine in her lap or bite her neck when she offers her cheek. I watch her cross the street against the light with her head inclined. I see her in the shadows of the branches at the close of day. We invent a new language just to say the simplest things. It's a kind of dream just to watch her walk away. In my profession, I'm dealing the whole time with people who have collapsed under the impossible demands for emotional expression. It's impossible to describe something that doesn't exist. The men on the A train were coming home from work, the words sanitation department stitched on their shirt pockets over their hearts. I suffer in silence rather than risk the chance of rejection. An empty bottle of soy sauce alongside a can of warm beer. The highway buckles under the heat of an illegal dump. A guy on the Acropolis asked if I ever heard of Rudy Nerea. I buried the placenta in a plastic bag so the dog wouldn't find it. The lack of a stimulant, lying in bed trying to read. No wonder I'm tired. I went with him to Union Square Park to buy some Valium. The life of one person, not someone you know, at the expense of others, without being mercenary. How happy we were, briefly, driving over the mountain through the fog. You can hear her voice talking to you from the pages of her book. A woman in a beige pantsuit and red earrings dangling below neatly combed dark hair, passed with a button that read, "Kiss me, I'm Jewish." Some say that poetry is both a window and a mirror, but today, like a chalice filled with light, who needs to write? There's not much difference between the words garbage and jewel. I dreamed of a woman who was there when the dream ended. My heart does the thinking for me in this house of stilts, if you catch the drift. I get angry at my boss and take it out on my spouse. She was arrested for the first time at age 17 for propositioning an undercover agent on the corner of 42nd Street and 8th Avenue. You define yourself by the place where the mattress touches your spine. There's a photo of my sister and me taken in Pasadena, summer of '65. Alcohol consumption is still a problem in the fraternity, where last year a 17-year-old student died of an overdose. Jack was at the bar and George was there and Larry, and then we went to someone's apartment and George and I sat on the couch and he kissed me. I make my entrance in a world of appearances. It's the last trace of vanity, what I look like in your eyes. A diamond-shaped sign with no words on it tells you to slow down. A square sign indicates that you're entering a school zone. Illiteracy is diminishing, but the words have no meaning. It's a romantic notion to think that words still have meanings. They boarded the ark in pairs, 2 breasts, 2 penises. A roach crawls out of the newspapers on top of the radiator. The reward for my all-night industriousness is to see the streetlights go out at 7 a.m. Potency is the same as frigidity, if you want my opinion. She was singing her signature song, the one about a dog named Blue. I suspect that I will meet you at 9:15 on the steps of the cathedral near the dull university. You'll never know the pride of the fratricide or who suffers most, the antidote to the illusion, the veil of philosophy in the veil of suffering, a praxis of the moment where love sings its own eulogy. And one minute I'm in bed and who with is still asleep, and the next minute I'm riding uptown on the A train, shoes wet, and the lining of my coat torn to shreds. Her voice is the sound of a wood thrush in the abyss. The babysitter asked me if I could wait downstairs until she was safely inside her apartment. I drove the babysitter down a deserted road and asked her to tell me when to stop, but she never did. She was babysitting for her niece and nephew and called and asked me to come over. There were children everywhere, some of them thrashing about on the floor, as animals do, making noises to show they're in heat. Don't think I'd act differently if I didn't know your name. A man is swallowed up by an object which isn't a woman or another man. When she told me my problems stemmed from childhood, I burst out laughing. I stand on the grass and watch him jog along the edge of the highway. Windows are painted on the sides of abandoned buildings. In the middle of the argument, she put her hand
and through a French window. Before you were born, you were sculpted to resemble this other person, but now you are being alive in the sound of your own voice. Sleep comes to those who let it be in the loneliest time of November, and the windows were smashed. Thank you all.
All through the 60s, the dope flew free through Townsend, Hood, Saigon to Marshall Key. Air America followed through, transporting for Features
So Marshal O'Keefe, I offer you, Mr. Mustard told me, Indochina dead, he was chief of dirty tricks, hitchhiking with dope pushers was how he got his fix, subsidizing traffickers to drive the Reds away, till Colby was the head of the CIA. Now Richard Secord and Oliver North hated Sandinitas, whatever they were worth, they peddled for the Contras to ease their pain, they couldn't sell Congress, so Contras sold cocaine. Discovered Noriega only yesterday, Nancy Reagan and the CIA. Juan Milan Rodriguez of the Medellin cartel laundered their dollars and he did it very well. Hundreds of billions to U.S. banks till he got busted and he sank in the tank. Buried in the paper only yesterday when Bush was drug czar USA. Milan told Congress 3 billion coke bucks went to Felix Rodriguez, CIA muck-a-muck. To give to the Contras only hush, 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 except for Donald Gregg and his boss George Bush. Buried in the papers only yesterday when Bush was drug czar USA. Rodriguez met Bush in his office many times. They didn't talk business, they drank lemon and lime, or maybe they drank coffee or they smoked a cigarette. But cocaine traffic they remembered to forget. Buried in the papers only yesterday when Bush vice president was USA. Now coke and grass were exchanged for guns on a border airfield that John Hull runs or used to run till his Costa Rican bust as a CIA spy trading Contra coke dust. Buried in the papers only yesterday, and Bush is in the White House of the USA when Bush was director of the CIA. Canal zone traffic in coke was gay. Bush paid Noriega used to work together. They sat on a couch and talked about the weather. You never used to hear George Bush holler when Noriega laundered lots of cocaine dollar. Now, once he got at the big White House, Bush said Noriega was a cocaine louse. The Cold War ended, East Europe found hope. U.S. got hooked on a war on dope. Glasnost came, East Europe got free. So Bush's army went to Panama City. Bush's guns in Panama did their worst, like coke fiends fighting on St. Mark's and First. Like a crackhead burn on Avenue D, Noriega double-crossed the company. Does Noriega know Bush's company crimes? In 2018, read the New York Times. Does Noriega know Bush's company crimes? In 2018, read the New York Times.
Thank you so many of my friends. La 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 la. The waving grass alarmed me, so I peeped through the slit in the blind, and there I saw the two of them beating on the 1968 marathon. Left hand with raised pipe, the slender one dressed in gray, shattered windshield. He beat it as if it were the face of a woman who once laughed as he was being arrested for snatching a purse. The taller one, dressed in brown, threw repeated kicks at the car, pounding it with his heel till he came a leap, walked 10 feet away, then ran towards the car, giving a Bruce Lee both feet off the ground jump, kicking the car with both heels, his face, nose first, slapped the pavement. Almost unconscious, he leapt to his feet, grabbed his friend's pipe, ran to the back of the car, and shattered the rear glass plate with violent blows, all of the time cursing his aunt out for telling his mother that he had gotten his sister pregnant. Thank you.
Come back early, the Glee Club sang, but my sweet boy soprano voice had changed, and like heaven I was gone. I was a jumping man. The thing just grabbed me. I died a little bit down there. But the one isn't just you, it's the two together. One can't let the body go and smile. Easy come, easy go. I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens. It's a great day to die, eh, amigo? You, as you ride off, and I at the gate, as I wait with you, my hero. Goodbye. Goodbye, Steve Carey. They are waiting in the sky. Goodbye, Betty. Goodbye, eyes. Do not go gentle, sweet, into that night. Goodbye, America. How are you? Don't you know me? I'm your favorite son. How do you like your blue-eyed boy now, lifted death? Don't look back, or else. I give you, the hunter, 3 kisses. I give you my heart and my garter. I give you... No, that's enough. The passing moment passes. Follow your bliss. Follow the fleet. Have courage. Have an egg roll. Live your life. Quick, follow that cab and drive. Drive like the very wind. And don't stop for no red lights.
This is for Jackie Curtis, Victoria's Dark Party, and Cookie Mueller, and all the people who don't come here no more. It's showtime! Time! And everything coming up roses! Is everybody happy? I'm a real downtown superstar, darling. And Warhol was my husband. Jackie Curtis was my wife. And you are all my beautiful children. You're beautiful because you understand how beautiful the world is, how beautiful I am. And I tell the world, you're not paying I'm afraid of whips because she's beautiful, darling. But because the world is beautiful, and the world must pay. Yesterday I ran through the cloisters, lifting my velvet skirt, whispering, who will fill me with jelly, custard, and cream? People ran out shrieking. People take notice. I'm a first, I'm a second, I'm a ding-dong baby. And I'm on my way up there, we take these around the road. Man's been gone for so many years. You better love me while you can. Last night I rode down in my elevator with Renee Ricardo 108 times to make sure that the doorman was staying awake for the other tenants. He called me a stupid cunt. But I told him, darling, a cunt is a useful thing! You may not realize who I am. This generation is a slow move, darling. Sesame Street caused brain damage. You feed peanut butter made the brain cells stick together. Have you seen the current avant-garde, darling? Who are those young Republicans with purple hair? You know, the ones who keep telling us how fast streets, not the homosexuals who stay at home. Yes, darling. It's like the sinking of Atlantis out there. 10 years from now, people will be standing around and saying, I remember when they were fans, and it was fabulous! Face it, darling. It's getting dull out there. Dangerously dull. It's turning into a mall out there. Haven't you heard? I mean, I myself come from a long line that doesn't have many understanding in it. Sometimes less is more. But a lot of times, darling, less is less. Thank you.
For the decade. I start the decade walking home in the rain, get lost, look up, see the World Trade Centers, figure out where West was. 1:00, Harris says, I'm glad this fucking decade is over. I hear it more effectively in a British accent. Will the kids know what to do when they outnumber us? Still, we're bigger. Blast rock music till they scream for rebel and video relief. This morning there are lines everywhere for food. Thank you.
I
Police cars cruise the shore. Squeak of brakes and squeal of flutes interchangeable like history and private property. Worker whistles melody. Poodle shits on a tree stump. I am perpetually in love, but not romantic. I just like to watch you work, always starting in one place and ending up in another. And poem for the new year. Fall light is late afternoon in the early morning. Death, toothpaste, shower bottle at mid-shoulder. Everything is free today. Free subway ride, free newspaper, free hot chocolate given out in the streets, free consolation and remorse, a viscera soup of freedom, the joy of flipping coffee